Well, let's get more on this story now and cross to Nick Koliachin, who's in Tel Aviv for us right now. Nick, thanks for joining us. This is a pretty shocking development. What's been the response from the public in Israel to this incredibly tragic event?
So the families of the hostages and also some of the people in Israel were in this, from the beginning, they were with this thought that it is really dangerous for the people that are still in the captivity, that the Israeli army will do the full scale invasion into Gaza, because they understood from the beginning when the bombs are dropped and when the soldiers are firing and they don't really understand completely what is going on in this dense population, they can accidentally kill hostages, and not just hostages, also about 13 Israeli soldiers were killed by their own people because they mistakenly thought that other soldiers are terrorists, but they were eventually other unit of Israeli army. So the same happened yesterday when these three hostages came close, approached the Israeli army. They thought that those are terrorists that want to attack them. And this is the complexity of having a military operation in such a dense population as Gaza Strip. And this is the reason that the families and the relatives of the hostages, and also some of the Israeli public, demanding the Israeli Prime Minister and the war cabinet to negotiate and to do a deal of exchange of prisoners for all the Israeli hostages, and also maybe to agree on a ceasefire, because this part of the Israeli public believes that the most important thing for Israel right now is to bring all the innocent Israeli that are taken to the captivity by Hamas. And this is the best thing that Israel can do for the moral of the country and for the future, so the people will see that the country doing anything possible for its people. And they're saying that we can deal with Hamas and with Gaza in the future, but now this is a pressing issue, because every day that the hostages at the captivity, it is a danger to their life. Also because we heard from the people that returned from the captivity that there is now enough food, water, medications, even the air to breathe in the tunnels is not enough, and it's not so good. And some of the people that are at the captivity, they are elderly or they have medical issues. So that's why the families today will have a special announcement at the noon, and they will demand probably from Israel to immediately ceasefire and to do a negotiation with Hamas via Qatar or Egypt or other countries that can help, maybe Russia. And they want that the Israeli government will focus only on one target at the beginning, and this is to return and to bring back all the hostages, about 130 innocent Israelis that's still at the captivity, that has nothing to do with this conflict. And they will protest, and they will protest more and more, as we saw yesterday night, and it will continue until Israel will not do anything in its power to return all its citizens and the citizens of other countries also that are still at the captivity. And this is a dividing issue in Israel, because the right wing and also the prime minister, they want to continue the war. And actually it is good for their political reasons, especially of the prime minister, that understands when the war ends, maybe he will need to step down, because the Israeli public will not forgive him for the 7th of October, because they think he has a major part in that, because he was so involved in his corruptive deals in his court, in the trying to weaken the courts in Israel, and he forgot completely about the threat that Hamas has over the Israeli public. And Israel doesn't want to live under this threat anymore, but Israel now needs to bring back, first of all, the hostages, and after that to deal with this threat of Hamas. So the 7th of October and the terrorist attacks that was before that for decades in Israel, when suicide bombers were bombing buses and they were killing people on the street, that it will not continue. And the only solution probably will be a two-state solution, one for Israelis, one for Palestinians. And this is something that probably the current prime minister and his government, right-wing, fanatic, extremist government, will not be able to do. And this is why the families will continue their pressure on the government to bring back all the hostages. And after that, let's deal with all the other problems that Israel has.
Sorry, I didn't hear you. Well, Nick, thanks very much for that update. Nick Koliochen, a local journalist, joining us there on RT International with the latest on that story.
Thank you.
Now, with